Welcome to UConn, Lou Lopez-Senechal. It's Phil and Ryan on Listen Up, presented by Dempsey's and Sportsland on this Saturday evening, Ryan, as we learn that, hey, Gino, sometimes you don't get the biggest names out of the transfer portal. We received a lot of comments on the last video in regard to the transfer portal, and he came through right away. In my opinion, this is what great coaches do, Ryan. We heard how challenging it is to get players through the transfer portal, but great head coaches, legendary head coaches, they make secret moves. And what I mean is, I'm not calling it a second priority, but you move down the list. You keep moving down the list until you find that standout player that not a lot of head coaches have their eye on. And that's the difference between legendary head coaches and so medium head coaches. What do you want to call them? Just the ones that, yeah, I mean, they're there to coach the game, but they're just your average head coach. To me, in my opinion, I really like this move a lot, because if you take a look not only at the individual awards that she had received, it's almost like a small Mount St. Mary's school up this way in Emmitsburg, just about a half an hour from us, Ryan. And you told me, you're like, Phil, well, I never even heard of the conference. So yeah, again, we'll get into the little bit of the stats, but hey, to me, this is a player that UConn very much needed. Obviously, not a lot of people. Raise your hand if you're familiar with the name. We know not a lot of people are. But again, this is the difference between legendary head coaches and average head coaches. You take a real deep, not only the top names in the league, Ryan, in D1 basketball, but if you're unable to get them in the transfer portal, you keep going down the list until you find someone that can stand out, and not a lot of people know about the name.
No, and Lou Lopez-Senechal is definitely one of those players. From the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Never heard of the conference before, but the Fairfield Stags, the team she played for during her 4 seasons, it's in Connecticut, so it's not too far away from Stores, I'm sure. So it won't be that far of a commute for her to make from Fairfield to Stores. So at least she doesn't have to get used to the atmosphere or the scenery down there, or the cold weather that Stores has to offer. So that's good. Maybe it'll be an easier transfer, an easier transition, rather than, these recruits that come over from San Diego, and different states around the country. But Lou, 6'1" forward, grew up in Grenoble, France. Like I mentioned, she played her last 4 seasons with the Fairfield Stags, averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, and she led the Stags to their first conference title, and their first tournament appearance in March Madness since 2001. So pretty good transfer, I think, for Connecticut. And like you said, we were just talking about it on the episode yesterday when we were talking about Ice Brady, I believe, just 2 days ago, about UConn getting a transfer, and 2 days later they get Lou.
Yes, they do. They get Lou. Hello, Lou. Again, welcome to UConn. I can't wait, man. And you talk about how she's a returning senior, just like Dorka Juhas, I believe. So again, a graduate student. I think that's very important. Again, we talk about experience, Ryan. Yes, it would be nice still to add another big name. But again, I think if AZ and Paige play up to their potential, and of course, obviously, if Dorka stays healthy and can recover fully from her wrist injury,
Right.
then I don't, in my opinion, we talked about they lack size in the paint, but I just think overall, if you see a lot of progress, especially out of the starting 5 that we're going to predict here in a minute with the addition of the new transfer student, I just think that there's really no need for another big name out of the transfer portal. Now, would it be nice? Absolutely. But again, if you see progress within another year, when the girls hit the court again in the fall, I don't see where you need another, especially with the coaching staff, man. This is a legendary coaching staff. I mean, they know how to coach, arguably the best coaching staff in all of basketball, college basketball. So with that said, I really don't think there's another big name that's really necessary to bring on the team as long as you see. Now, I know it's a lot to ask for out of every single player, especially the ones that provide you depth from the bench. But if they can all step up and get more aggressive, yeah, this is really, I mean, to me, this is a big move, bigger than some people think. UConn may have gotten a big steal here.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, it's under the radar, under the radar player, that from an unfamiliar conference, an unfamiliar team. So I mean, I just don't know if she's gonna start or come off the bench, but I don't think it really matters right away because
Mm.
I think UConn has a lot of depth now, especially with the addition of Lou. Because talking about Dorka Juhas recovering from the wrist surgery. Amari DeBerry coming back from her back surgery last year. Aaliyah Edwards is returning. She's a junior, I believe, this season.
Yeah.
So I think, with this addition, UConn definitely has enough size, enough height down low. But, would it be nice to get another transfer? Yes, it definitely would be. And of course, we have the two new recruits coming in for this season, Ice Brady, who we already went over, and Ayanna Patterson, who will go over tomorrow, I believe, for the next episode. So I think UConn is going to have a pretty decent depth on this team now, especially with the addition of this new transfer.
Yeah, and very quickly, you want to predict the starting lineup. I know it's always fun to do that with you. I mean, when you go through Ryan before and you're like, well, Phil, man, I don't even know what the starting lineup would look like now. But that's a good thing, Ryan, because I looked at South Carolina's roster heading into the championship game, and then after they defeated UConn in the national title game, and I'm like, well, it's weird because not only is it big to have more players, and I didn't really look at it this way. Man, I mean, you scroll down on the roster on the ESPN app, and it seemed like so many more players on the roster of South Carolina than it was UConn. And originally you look at that and you're like, well, more players, so what? Well, they gain more experience. Obviously, we talked about that from sitting on the bench, from getting playing time when the team is up big. So again, I like that whether it's a big name or not, I feel like the UConn, the more loaded this roster is for UConn, the better. Because again, you lose Kristen Williams, Nelson Adota, and then we didn't mention thoughts and prayers with Kristen Williams, Ryan, and she just got drafted by the Washington Mystics, and very unfortunate. She is out her whole rookie season in the
Yeah, knee
WNBA.
surgery. Yeah.
Just like we had discussed, Ryan, you don't know.
No, you don't, and especially from last year, that nobody knows what can happen. But in terms of the starting lineup, definitely Paige. I would expect AZ to start alongside Paige. I think they play very well together. We saw it last year when they were both able to play fully healthy on the court together. Of course, we didn't really know if Paige was fully healthy or not, but I would expect them to be both fully healthy for the start of this season. Aaliyah Edwards, of course, I would expect her to be a starter as well, returning to the team. I think Amari DeBerry has a really good shot too. It just all depends on how she looks in these summer workouts or these summer practices coming off of the surgery. And of course, we can't forget about Dorka Juhas. She played great for this team all last season. Really unfortunate injury in the tournament. I definitely expect her to be a starter as well. But in terms of DeBerry or Lou, this new transfer, I'm not really sure. I think it's kind of a coin toss right now between those two of who could get that last starting position.
Well, let's just say that as a surprise, huh? Listen, I think it's a
Yeah.
lot. I think it's a lot uh, more fun to predict that starting lineup and save that for our followers. Again, we appreciate you all. We thank you so much for all the love and support. We love you all. And again, Ryan, we can't wait to go over that official what we call it, the official predictions as far as the starting lineup. We want to hear from you guys. So you give us your take about the new transfer and tell us if you see her making a right away day one impact on this ball team. going into the new 2022-23 season. I can't wait to see her, Ryan, as she hits the court for Gino and company. The last video, we appreciate everybody coming through. The Ice Brady, we'll go over about 2 or 3 comments. Dalton Stewart running the sticks. I knew I told him I'd give him a shout out. And then Austin Anita, we want to thank him. Ryan, how about actually JHE? So we'll just go. He goes, how about Ayanna Patterson? Well, we not to break it to you, but we wanted to say kind of save it as a surprise. But we are coming on, Ryan, tomorrow. We expect to end that series, and we're going to cover Patterson tomorrow. So we didn't forget about her. And we'll be back on Sunday. How about Michael Lawson? Speaking of transfer portal pool, let's have fun with this. If by any chance Caitlin Clark finishes early as a graduate or wants to boost herself in the draft by winning a championship, it would be the biggest talk in college basketball and the worst nightmare to South Carolina and Stanford crying foul. Whoa, wouldn't that be big, Ryan? Caitlin Clark to UConn.
Yeah, I read that comment yesterday, and I could only smile at reading it because that would be amazing. I wouldn't know what to say. I probably wouldn't even say anything if we went on to record an episode after I see that.
Well, I tell you,
news.
I think that it's safe to say that you would probably have to come live from Dempsey's while you're washing dishes, because we couldn't wait for that.
No, we'd have to jump on that one right away. That would be up there with the all-time transfers. But I don't expect Caitlin Clark to transfer by any means. But like we keep saying, you never know. But I would expect Iowa to have another good team this year because Caitlin Clark is up there with Paige Beckers as one of the shining stars in terms of women's college basketball.
Grobel, thank you, Grobel. Again, people sleeping on DeBerry. She didn't play much this year, and that was partly due to practice. From a couple of comments Gino made in post-game conferences during the season, it makes me wonder, is she one of the athletes that are just not good practice players? Amari has a great jumper out to the three-point line, a nasty drop step in the post, and a baby hook with either hand when she committed. Gino commented several times she is potentially one of the most talented bigs they have had in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought because we've talked about before how much Gino even likes the practices as much as the actual game. Practice is really important to Gino and all the coaches because, Gino likes to run all of the offensive plays. And he likes a good passer, and he wants to make sure that every player on the team has elite passing ability in their offense to be able to run it almost to perfection every single time. So if Gino doesn't like what he's seeing out of you in practice and you're not giving 110% out there every single time, that's probably why maybe we see some of these players on the bench more than others.
C. Edward, Dorka steps out and shoots outside. Good passer, post up with ice. UConn has 2 deadly players.
Yes, they do. And that's big. We talked about that, how important it is for the post players down low to be able to step outside mid-range outside to the 3-point line and have that threat and capability of shooting the outside shot. Because it pulls the defense up and it allows the guards to cut to the basket. So it just makes your offense run so much better, and it just makes you that much of a more deadly weaponized player.
And we don't wish anything, any bad luck against any player, obviously. But with that said, Ryan, again, we wish all of them the best of luck and great careers. Yeah. But with that said, it's also very satisfying to, obviously, if they're one of your favorites, to see them come out of high school. And not only you predict their future is very bright. I told you, man, ice. Oh my goodness. The ceiling is high for ice.
Yeah, it is. I just can't wait to see her and Patterson, both of them, come to UConn this season and see how far they go as teammates and get accustomed to all the players on UConn. But I can't wait to this upcoming season. It's definitely going to be a fun one.
And the last one before Austin says we have to head out. Ice is Fire from Iowa. Ice is Fire. She could see quite a few minutes at the start of the season. Dorka won't be 100% for beginning of the season. And also, I'm not sure for Aubrey. I do think Gino would take at least one guard player from transfer portal. Nika Page, AZ, and Caroline are now only guards for UConn. 3 will be in starting lineup and 1 sub. He will need 1 more coming off the bench. They have a lot of post players now. Even he said it is difficult to play with 3 post players, too many people in the lane.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity or a good chance that we see Nika Mule as the 3rd guard along with Page and AZ in the starting lineup. And it probably will be Edwards. And we could see Ice Brady in the starting lineup if Dorka is unable to recover in time, or if DeBerria is not able to recover in time as well. But now with the transfer as Lou, like they mentioned, they hope we get another transfer. Well, here we go. We got 6'1" forward transferring to UConn. So it's going to really be a toss up to see how many minutes these players get off the bench as new recruits and transfers to the team. But only time will tell, and we'll just have to see how they do in practice, how Gino likes them in terms of a practice player, like you just mentioned. So we'll see.
Yeah, 6'1" forward, Ryan. Size, it looks like that UConn is realizing that size is kind of a maybe a problem. You have to deal with South Carolina and the likes of these other elite teams on the road to March of 2023, as we're getting that much closer already to the season opener. We can't wait. We all know you can't wait. Again, welcome to UConn, Lou Lopez-Senechal. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up, presented by Dempsey's and Sportsland.